I'm back, Thrivers. Heather here. I just almost got blown away in that crazy wind. So I apologize about that. I'm just going to start completely over. That wind is supposed to be 50 to 90 miles an hour today, which is hurricane force winds. And the last time it got up to 90 miles an hour here was about like 3 weeks ago. I was over at the bank doing business banking stuff, super boring. Can't stand that part of the business, but I have to do it. And I was over at the bank, and there's an industrial building across the road, about 3,000 or 5,000 square foot building, and the entire roof blew off the building into the intersection. So it's super dangerous and super scary. So Ben and I actually pulled our kids out of school. They're all home. They're downstairs watching Spider-Man, Spider-Verse or something. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so I really wanted to share with you some insights about how to stop divorce. And I'm going right into, working with one of my very dear friends, very dear family friends. Hey, Heather, thanks for joining. We've been friends with them since we moved here. Ben and the husband are very, very close, work together, and I'm very close with the wife, and our sons are actually best friends. And so this family is very near and dear to us, and she has filed for divorce, and they've been married over 23 years. They have 5 incredible children together, and I've gotten to know them so well, and I literally pray for them every single day, just like I pray for every member of this group, the Thriving Marriage. And I've been really grateful for the opportunity I've had to give them some of the perspective of what Mark and I teach. And the husband is actually enrolled in the coaching with Mark, and it had his first session yesterday, so that was powerful. Meeting with the wife, my friend, and meeting last night with the husband, I wanted to share with you some really powerful insights that I shared with them, and their story might resonate with where you're at and kind of give you the clarity of, what do I do? My spouse has filed for divorce. I love this person. I don't want them to leave. I want to keep our family intact. How do I even start? Is it even possible? Right? He was expressing those feelings of overwhelm and of confusion and all of that. And so I understand that if you're in that process where your spouse is pushing for divorce, they say they want out, they say they're in love with someone else, that it's the overwhelm, the fear that can come in can be crippling, and it can be really difficult to know, how do I even start? And there's all these different opinions and advice. So how do I get clarity on what's really going to work? So, all right, big picture here is that my friend, they've been married 23 years, right? She, for years, has been trying to communicate to her husband that she does not feel emotionally supported. I need you to emotionally support me. That's my biggest need. That's my love language, is words of affirmation. And I'm not getting that. And to the point now where she feels like I keep asking. I've tried to tell him what I need, and he just doesn't do it. So he must not care. And if he doesn't care, and if I keep asking for this and I'm never going to get it, and I'm never going to get that support from him, then why am I here? Right? And so it's not working. I think I probably need to end this marriage and work on my own healing and go on this journey that she's talking about, right? So she has this, call the story. That's the reasons justifying why she wants to leave. And he's admitted, yeah, he hasn't been emotionally supportive to her. Here is where a bit of a disconnection happens. And I want you to understand, and all of us to really understand, the common mistakes that people make, and so that we can do the opposite of what most people do, right? So he was saying, I admit it, like, for years, I haven't really supported her emotionally. I really don't know how. That's not me. It's not my personality. I wasn't raised like that. And it's just been kind of my way or the highway. And I recognize I haven't done that. And I didn't really know what she meant until she filed for divorce. And then working with us, uncovering what that need really means, creating understanding for her. And even working with him last night on questions like these. Again, we talk about understanding and opening up communication. What does emotional support look like to you? What does it feel like? What are words that someone could use that would allow you to feel emotionally supported? What do you feel inside? What happens physically? Is there a physical part of emotional support? What does that look like? What's the tone of voice that someone uses when they're emotionally supportive to you? What's the expression on their face? What's the kind of closeness, proximity that you want physically? Does touch help, or does it detract from emotional support for you, right? So it's getting clarity from her and getting her talking and opening up about what that actually looks like. And so he has been able to increase that understanding by asking these kind of opening questions, whereas he just didn't before. He didn't really know to do that. He didn't know how to do that. And so showing him exactly, help her open up like this. Ask her what she means. Ask her what it feels like. Ask her, if we had a clean slate, if we could go back and do things all over again, how would you have loved for me to support you best? How would you love for me to support you best, right? So as he's been making some positive changes, she's recognized this. And she told me, she's like, Heather, I can see that he's making changes and he's doing things now that he hasn't done our entire marriage. However, to me, I'm upset, because why did it take me filing for divorce for him to finally do it? And here's where a bit of awareness comes in. Mark and I, we work with thousands of couples, and this is what a really common pattern is, that oftentimes women, especially, there's this generality, but women especially will think that we're trying to communicate something to our husband. We think we're telling him what we need. Men, for whatever reason, they understand action more than words, typically. I know that this doesn't always go with the mold, but this is a really typical common pattern. And so we think that we're communicating, hey, I need you to emotionally support me. Hey, I need you to listen to me. Hey, I need you, like, I'm having a hard time and I feel like you're not there for me. And so we think that we're communicating things, but very often with many of our clients, it isn't until there is an action taken by the wife. So in this case, divorce papers, an action where he's like, oh, now I get it. Now I get it, because men are typically beings of action. I know these are generalities, but it's a really common pattern. And so it can create some awareness there. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Paul, Megan, and everyone else. Sherry, Avis, good to see you all, Jennifer. And so understanding that right there can help take some of the false story around that, oh, he only cares about me when I'm leaving. And if I come back, well, then these positive changes he's making aren't going to stick, right? It's not enough to make the positive changes. Like we've taught many times, you have to change the narrative. You have to change the story that's going along with it. Otherwise, you're going to be continually running into that. They're going to hold on to their story that these changes are just temporary, that they aren't going to last long term, that they aren't for the right reasons. It's just kind of like a manipulation to get me back. And then we're going to go right back to the way it was. And I'm going to be hurt again. I'm going to be stuck in pain. And so that right there is a very common cycle. Okay. So sharing with her, like, look, it did take a wake up call. And oftentimes from my male clients and the clients that Mark and I and our team work with, it's like, it was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, they say, but it was the best thing. It was the best thing ever, because it finally woke me up. It finally made me aware of what I was missing. And it finally stepped me into to making some changes and to really becoming the very best version of myself. And so for them, it's a huge turning point. And this happens on both sides, male and female, that it can be the very best thing, because now we're put into momentum and we recognize that what we've been doing hasn't been working, and we're finally willing to make the changes and step into who we really are meant to be. And so that right there is a huge blessing, right? It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. And I'm not saying divorce itself is a blessing, but the opportunity that happens at this stage in a relationship is a huge blessing. Does that make sense? And can you see that? Can you see the opportunity that's there for you? I'm watching in the chat. Hey, Paul. And so, what kind of action are you taking, and how are you utilizing these opportunities? What often happens is that we get stuck in our fear, we get stuck in our own pain, and we don't see them for what they are. And so being able to shift out of the fear and the clench mode is exactly what needs to happen. Now, another thing that people in this situation often do is that because there's the fear, there's the panic, there's the desperation, they are willing to say or do or be anything just to get them back, right? And that is not the right energy to ever attract someone back to us. Imagine that you're in a room with someone that's just terrified. They're desperate. You can sense that energy. And what do you want to do when someone's like that? You want to create space, right? You want to distance yourself so that you have protection against that, versus someone that is completely centered in themselves and genuinely wants to understand you. What kind of energy feeling would you have with that? How would you respond? If someone is generally, they're just centered, they're calm, they're okay with whatever happens, they're tapped into who they really are, and they genuinely care about you, they genuinely want to understand you. We're pulled toward that kind of a person, and connection can easily happen in that state. We feel much safer. We feel easily drawn to that. And that is what allows communication to open up, is by showing that understanding. And so we have to do the opposite of what our instincts say, the opposite of what most people say. And what most people do is that they only stay in that fear mode. They only stay in the desperation mode. And they never learn how to shift their mindset and the core of who they are to get to a state of calmness and centeredness. The other interesting element to this is detaching from the outcome. We don't learn how we're supposed to detach from the outcome. And what most people do is they're very attached to the outcome. They say, I want my spouse back. I want to save our family. I want this for my kids. I want this. I want that, and it's like this abundance of energy given into a specific outcome. And what we've seen and we've proven time and time again, and the most beautiful part of the work that I do that I so appreciate, is shifting from that kind of a state of needing external circumstances to be controlled and to shaped the way that we want them to, because that's like fighting against a hurricane. Like I said, they've got 90-mile-an-hour winds outside right now. You should have seen my hair after that video. It was crazy. And my little girls were crying. It was really sad. But back to the point is that instead of being swept up by the whirlwind, and sometimes it's calm skies and sometimes it's crazy as crap. And so rather than letting that be what dictates us and controls our emotions and controls our lives, and we show up and we type on social media, I see that all the time. We are just being like a piece of paper in the wind. We are going to be ripped to shreds, right? And what's going to be left over after all is said and done, and at the end of our lives? That's not where we want to be. What we want to learn to be is, like Bruce said, I love quoting Bruce because he just said it so well, I am a rock. His exact words is, I am a rock of a man. And this was a man that was not a rock in his own life. He tried to control external circumstances as a coping mechanism to deal with fear. He felt like if I could control everything that's trying to go on out here, then I'm safe. And realizing I'm releasing what's going out there, I'm letting go of that expectation, I find security, peace, power within myself. And regardless of what happens on the external world, regardless of what happens in this relationship, I am safe, I am whole, I am well, I am happy. So making that transformation, it's more than just about communication tactics or methods to get them back. And some of the things that we say here at the Thriving Marriage, because those are important, it's the most important is tapping into who you really are, so that you can be the rock. You can be the eye of any storm, and no circumstance, no situation could ever, ever tear you apart. You are movable. So that's what we do. And that's what I've learned to do going through the craziest, hardest challenges of my life, of realizing that my life could end within a very, very short amount of time, and that I was not who I was meant to be. I was not the person I wanted to be. And that was a startling wake-up call to me, that these changes I needed to make, yeah, it was about my family. Yeah, it was about my marriage. But most importantly, it was about myself. And then when I learned to live true to who I am and could finally get there, because I wanted to, I knew consciously I wanted to make changes, but for whatever reason, my same habits just kept coming up and my same weaknesses kept showing up, and I kept going into the same cycles, and I didn't know how to break them. I didn't know how to get out until I learned this, until I mastered this, until now I'm able to help people do the same. so that they can look back on their lives and be like, yeah, I became the best version of myself. And guess what, my friends? The best, no, I'm not gonna say the best. The effect that this has when we shift to this kind of a state where I am no longer attached to the outcome, right? I care about you deeply, but if the marriage ends, if the marriage is saved, either way, I'm okay. And either way, I care about you. Either way, I want to understand you. What kind of effect do you feel like that kind of a place would have on your spouse? It's a very interesting dynamic in this situation, specifically when there is divorce on the line, because this is a very different situation than when there's just struggling or checked out or different things like that. You know, divorce needs to be handled very methodically and with great care, just like my cancer diagnosis did. And I was looking at, you know, the end of my life. I was on that cliff edge, just like when you're in divorce, you're on the cliff edge and you need to get the right help and you need to get it fast, right? And what happens is Ben and I were kind of laughing about this. I don't know if it's funny, but it is kind of funny, is that this stage is almost like dating. It's almost like this cat and mouse kind of game. They're pulling away and we're chasing after them. We're chasing after them and they can feel the pursuit. They can feel the desperation. And what do? They get out as fast as they can. They continue to pull away. And a very interesting dynamic happens. And this is exactly how we coach our clients in our coaching program, is that when you detach and you actually back off and you pull away and you find safety in yourself, what happens here? They start coming to you. It's fascinating. It is a fascinating thing. And the most momentum that we see at this stage is when we actually detach. It's when we actually, I don't know, pull back is the right word, because it's different for every single couple. That's why I don't want to make a generality and have you think, oh, I'm going to go do this on my own. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to go get a condo over here. I'm going to go find this other lover or anything like that, because it could be easily misinterpreted. And that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not how I want to serve you. But I want to show you the mindset that's involved, right? And then the specifics is where we show you how, and we can only do that working with you one-on-one. It's as simple as that. We have great online programs and great online tools and courses and resources to give you information to educate you. And those can be of great blessing and benefit. But to really get the help, it can't be a self-help book. It can't be a self-help, manual that you're given. You need to get the guidance of an expert that can show you exactly, this is how you need to detach. This is we went over the wording with him, and Mark actually gave him the exact wording of how to communicate these things with his wife. Man, it is incredible to now see as he's doing that and he's actually feeling, I can let this go. I as far as like the outcome, I can be at peace actually either way. She's sensing it. And this is what we see happen with the clients that do this. And now, that's when we open the door to allow her to start coming toward him, right? Start taking tiny steps toward that direction. Because at first they're like, you're chasing me, you're chasing me, you're chasing me. I'm just going to get further and further away to, where'd you go? What happened? Oh, wait, what am I actually doing? It's a huge pattern interrupt. And then we always start to see at this stage, them starting to step here. And that's how it works. That's the cure for divorce. In a nutshell. And like I said, it's like your own marriage thumbprint. It's very specific to you. And so what it looks like for my friends, it's going to look different for you, just like it would in an affair case or in some kind of maybe emotional abuse case like we're helping someone with right now, or an addiction or any of these different things. They have to be handled with care. But the overall mindset is the same. It's about learning to become the rock in the storm and learning what it really takes to cure divorce, right? It's almost as if like someone said, I know how to cure cancer and this is what you need to do, right? I have the cure, I have the treatment. And so it's your choice. If you want that, if this resonates with you, if this makes sense to you, if you can understand the mechanics of it, kind of the psychology of what's going on in the big picture and the mindset of what it takes to get there, that it is absolutely possible. And that there is hope. 95% of marriages can be saved. There are only two sure ways of knowing that a marriage is most likely over. Sure and most likely. Let's kind of cancel each other out. Right? So 2 signs a marriage is most likely over. If you've seen our live stream on this, you know what I'm talking about. What one is zero communication. Like no communication about kids, no communication about anything. You live on the other side of the world. There's no reason to communicate and you don't communicate. Or there's a restraining order and you can't communicate. Those kind of situations, you know, that's one of the signs that it's not going to work, because you have to have at least some level of communication. And the second one, again, becomes a little bit more vague, but it's if they're making serious future plans with someone else. Like they're having a baby together, they're buying a house together, they're going to get married, right? These different kinds of things. Even then, though, we've still been able to help some people in a more committed relationship. If you know Leah, you know her story. Her husband was leaving her for another woman. They were starting to make plans together, and he was able to leave her and come back to Leah. And now they're doing better than ever, and they just had the birthday of their son. So we love Leah, and we appreciate everything that she does, sharing her heart and her story with you guys so that you can see what it really looks like on the other side. And you can see the possibilities of what's really there for you, and that you can get out of the overwhelm, the exhaustion, that I don't know what to do, and I feel like everything I'm doing isn't working, because most likely you need to do the opposite. And you don't understand, you don't see that for what it is, because you're right in the heart of it. You're right in the heart of that hurricane and those crazy winds. And so you need some clarity and solutions. So bottom line, guys, my heart goes out to all of you. And I know that there are solutions, that there is possibility. There is, a proven method that we have here to be able to help you. And we need to know what your exact situation is. So we are putting together, we launched today. I've got all my kids home, so my brain's a little fried. We're launching today our Divorce Cure coaching program. And this is a brand new coaching program emphasizing specifically divorce. So if you're separated with no talk of divorce, or if there's anything else going on, this isn't the fit for you. But if you're in the process of divorce, if your spouse is threatening divorce, if divorce is on the line and you feel like you're on the cliff edge, like I was on the cliff edge with my own life, then this is for you. This has been designed specifically to help our clients that are in the divorce process, so that we can use this proven method and going through it systematically with you, showing exactly what step to take and when and how to do it for you. Because I can't give solutions to everyone right here, right now, because if I give one thing, then another person's going to take it this way and it could be the actual wrong thing for them. That's why we have to work one-on-one. So this week we're opening up some spots in our calendar for free breakthrough sessions for those that are already in the process of divorce. If you're not, this is not for you again. But if you are, and if you're like my friend and you want to know, what is it going to take to save this marriage? What is it going to take to get myself to a place of peace and a place of, I'm a rock in my own life. I am a rock of a man. I am a rock of a woman. Then I would love to be able to work with you. We only have 15 spots available for this because we do work with you one-on-one. It's an intense program. It has to be in this kind of situation. It's not for the faint of heart. You have to be willing to do what it takes. You have to show up, and you have to be coachable and willing to do what it takes, because it's going to take a lot, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It is so worth it. And you know that when you look back on your life, that this is what you needed to do. This gave you the clarity, it gave you solutions, and actually, regardless of what happens to the relationship, it helps you become who you're really meant to be. So if you want the cure, go ahead and leave in the comments, say, I want the cure, or cure. If you're busy and just want to type one word, 4 letters, cure. And we'll make sure that we get you the form to book a call. And we actually had 2 people sign up today, so we're now down to 13 spots. So spots are already filling up fast. I love you. I appreciate you. My heart, my love, my gratitude go out to you. Let's have this be a fabulous day, and let's cure divorce.